Have you ever found yourself in a surreal situation where you questioned your reality? Imagine this. Your wife, the love of your life, bursts into the room with the most exciting news you've ever heard. She's pregnant. But here's the twist. I know something she doesn't. I know I'm infertile. How would you feel? What would you do? And most importantly, how do you confront a truth that could shatter your world? In today's video, I will take you on a journey through one of my life's most challenging and emotionally charged experiences. This isn't just a story. It's my reality. Stay with me because by the end, you'll understand why the final part of this tale is something you can't miss. Let's go back to the beginning, to the moment when my life changed forever. I recently discovered that my wife, Devon, was having an affair with my best friend, Jeff. I found this out because she's pregnant. You might ask yourself, but if she's pregnant, how do you know? Well, I got a vasectomy in my previous marriage, so I know my wife has been screwing around on me because there's no way she can get pregnant from me. Some of you might be thinking, you can still get pregnant with a vasectomy. Don't come at me with that. There's a less than 1% chance that I got her pregnant, and we've taken tests since then to prove that it's not mine. So there's some context. My best friend Jeff recently went through a divorce earlier this year. I grew up with this guy since we were in grade school. We're brothers. We were both the best men at each other's weddings, went to college together, took the same courses, and ended up in the police force stationed at the same place. You get it. I first got married when I was 20, and my ex-wife Trish and I were high school sweethearts. I was the small-town hockey star who everyone knew was going somewhere. She was the smart, cute, funny pastor's daughter whom everyone loved. We had our daughter when we were 21 and our son when we were 24. We had a miscarriage in between the two. After my son, my ex-wife and I decided we didn't want any more children, so I got a vasectomy. Without telling anyone, I didn't feel like I had to announce it to the world. I went for a simple lunch surgery and went back to work, and no one was the wiser. My ex-wife and I ended up drifting apart and separated amicably. It's not that we didn't love each other, but the love just changed. She started a home organization business after the kids were old enough to be more independent. She succeeded with that and wanted to make the brand bigger, so she put in a lot of time. I was still passionate about what I was doing and was getting deployed all over Canada to teach and whatnot, so we drifted apart. But we still fully supported each other and the lives we were both leading. My ex-wife and I are still really great friends. We see each other constantly and have even shared holidays together. Devon and Trish were on good terms and even went out and did things without me. They had a great relationship. This brings me to Jeff and his wife. We all spent much time together and did a Friendsmas thing and a Friendsgiving every year. We all spent a lot of time camping together. So, when he said he was getting a divorce from his wife, Amy, it hit the friend group hard. We tried our best to support them in whatever way they needed. However, Amy gave it to Jeff hard and said she would take the kids to Ontario to be with her parents, who still live there. Naturally, Jeff was devastated to hear this. He tried his best to keep his kids here, but alas, she ended up moving there and did, in fact, take the kids with her. It was rough to see him go through that, and hard to see him getting his kids taken away. During this time, he really leaned on us. Because they had to sell the house, we let Jeff stay with us for a little bit, until he landed on his feet again. Well, a little bit turned into a little longer than we would have liked. I complied. Devon thought we could renovate the garage and turn it into a suite. Jeff was gracious about it and helped, spending a lot of time making it his own. It was a bit of an annoyance, but I wanted to help however I could. It was better than him staying in our house. At least he was out of the house and in his own space, so that Devon and I could have proper alone time without worrying if Jeff would hear. If you catch my drift. Devon worked as a dispatch agent for a bit, and that's how we met. The job is stressful, so she stuck it out for 2 years. Now she works as a hairstylist and loves it. Devon and I met a few months after the divorce with Trish was finalized. We hit it off well. She's 8 years older than I am. She said she didn't want any kids and was fun, like really fun and wild. We had our motorcycles and went on hunting trips. She was like one of the guys, but like a chick that wanted to get down and dirty with you. That's a horrible explanation, but you get it. She was fun. She was everything that I needed at the time. We had the same interests and hobbies. Because she had mentioned that she didn't want any kids, I thought, wow, great. I don't have to worry about telling her that I had a vasectomy. So, the topic never came up. Yes, I know I'm a horrible person. I never told her that I had a vasectomy, but because the topic of kids never really came up, that was sort of it. She was the best stepmom to my kids, and had always said that was enough. She wasn't even the marrying type until I felt like, yeah, I want to spend the rest of my life with this woman, and it feels right. It's not like she was against marriage or anything, but she didn't expect it, you know. She didn't need to get married. She was so chill, and I loved that about her. So we had this small, intimate backyard wedding with a fire and a barbecue, which was perfect. It was perfect for us and all we needed. Shortly after we got married, Jeff went through his divorce. He was staying with us, blah, blah. We worked together but weren't on the same team, so he had different shifts than I did. Devon had a really lax schedule, too, so a lot of times Devon and Jeff were at home together alone. At first I thought Devon was just helpful and a good friend, but after a while, it definitely started getting weird. I'd text her during the day and ask her how her day was going, and she'd say, "Oh, Jeff and I are just out for lunch," or "Jeff and I are just out running errands," and I'm like, okay, weird. But then they were going to the movies together and going to concerts together. When I was home, I saw little things that rubbed me the wrong way. He touched her arm when she was talking to him. She touched his bicep when he made her laugh. She'd dish him up food and wouldn't dish me up food. She'd constantly bring him up like, "Oh, Jeff told me about this," or "Jeff said the funniest thing." Red flags definitely raised my suspicions. Even though he was literally up in the garage suite, they'd text into the wee hours of the morning. She'd be giggling and texting him while I was laying next to her in bed. Honestly, I'd try to start something up, give her a massage or something to get in the mood, and she wouldn't be interested. She'd just keep texting him, so I'd just roll over and fall asleep while she'd keep texting him. There were little gifts here and there. He got her bath stuff for the bathtub, and in one gift set there was massage oil. After a week I noticed that the bottle had been opened and used, but I didn't use it on her. At first I chalked it up to maybe she used it for lotion or something. But the thing is, this oil has a distinct smell, and I remember smelling it on Jeff a few times. I never said anything. I was just sort of collecting all this evidence and making mental notes. Then one day, we were lying in bed late at night, and she turned to me and said, "I want a baby." I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "I think we should have a baby." I'm like, "We agreed not to." And she's like, "I don't know. I've been thinking, and I think we should have a baby before we're both too old." I'm like, "Devon, I don't know." She got mad at me and said, "Don't treat me like your old child." I said that I thought we went over this before, and she's like, "We never really did." I'm like, "It was just an unspoken thing, and I feel like you said that you were okay without kids and were good with being a stepmom." She's like, So I'm not allowed to change my mind? You won't let me be a mom? I'm like, whoa, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I think we ought to talk more about this, and maybe now isn't the best time. She's like, well, what would make it a good time? When will you want to talk about it? I'm like, we can sleep on it and talk about it tomorrow and make time for this tomorrow. She got pissed and left the room. I didn't have the heart at that moment to tell her I had a vasectomy, and it would be physically impossible for me to give her a child unless I went and got it reversed. Even then, it's not 100%. Then something was just sketchy about the whole conversation anyway. I thought it was weird that now, suddenly, she wanted a baby. She had never shown interest in anything like this before. My alarms were going off. I'm pretty sure I knew what happened, but I needed to play along a little bit here. The next day I apologized and said, yes, I'm game. Let's make a baby. She jumped for joy, and we tried like 5 times that day. About a week later, she handed me this box, and in this box was a positive pregnancy test. I could have cried. I was stunned. I knew it couldn't have been mine. I'm not an expert, but can you find out a week later? I don't think it works that way. Anyway, let me know if I'm wrong here. But I had a hunch, and I knew the baby wasn't mine. I knew it must have been Jeff's. So I started watching them closer. Devin and I had agreed not to tell anybody that we were pregnant right away. But when I watched Devin and Jeff interact, I caught him grazing her belly out of the corner of my eye. I pretended like I didn't see it, but he definitely, lovingly touched her belly. A few weeks later, she tells me she's going to her doctor for the first little exam to see how far along she was. Jeff was going to drive her because he had to run around in the area anyway. I was like, no need. I'm taking time off because I want to be there. She smiled and said, you don't have to do that. I was like, I'm the father. I want to be there. She weakly grinned and said, of course you do. We ended up going to the appointment. The doctor does her thing and asks Devin when she thinks she conceived. She gives the date that we did the deed. There's an ultrasound, and then the doctor returns and says she's 12 weeks along. I'm like, how is that possible? I look at her and she's acting all shocked. The doctor says, it seems like you have a miracle, and like, whoa. And I pretend to be ecstatic, not to tip her off that I knew anything I shouldn't. Then we went home, and when we were home, I was still pretending. And she's like, oh, it was meant to be. What a miracle. I'm so excited. We ended up having sex again that night, and I turned over and fell asleep. I had the next day off, but I knew she had to get up early because she had a wedding. I knew that was my chance to pack her crap and lock Jeff out of the suite. I knew Jeff also had to get up and go to work. So I did just that. I packed all of her garbage, stockpiled it in our trailer, and parked it on the street. I had a spare key to Jeff's suite, so I went in there, packed up his stuff too, and threw it into the same trailer. Then I put this big old lock on it so he wouldn't get in. So Devin comes home first and sees the trailer parked there. I had changed the door locks and the garage password, so she couldn't get in. She's standing there, and she's banging on the front door. I talk to her through our doorbell camera and tell her that we're done and that baby isn't mine. She's saying I'm out of my absolute mind and calling me crazy. And she's bawling and making a big scene, and I can see our neighbors looking out their doors and windows, and I'm like, this baby isn't mine. It's Jeff's. And she's like, don't be insane. Why would it be Jeff's? And I'm like, you tell me. And she's like, how could this baby not be yours? And I'm like, there's a less than 1% chance, and I know that because I have a vasectomy. And she dropped her purse and her bags onto the ground. She stood there in disbelief and was like, let me explain. And she started trying to babble on, and I'm like, save it. I know it's not mine. And I'm like, we're done. It's over. I was nice enough to pack the trailer for you. Get out of here. And then she calls someone. And I'm guessing it's Jeff because he shows up in a matter of minutes in a patrol car. He sees what's happening and sees the lock on the garage suite. He tells me I'm losing my mind and that the kid couldn't be his. I'm like, I'll believe it when I see a paternity test. Okay, people have been asking how she never knew and didn't suspect not getting pregnant before. Well, she was on birth control pills for PCOS, or so she told me. Supposedly, she was in the process of swapping pill brands, and just so happened to get pregnant with Jeff's baby. Bad timing. Not only that, but she had this thing against man juice, to put it lightly. She was repulsed by it. She refused that I ever finished in her, and she rarely ever pleased me in other ways because the sight of it disgusted her. I won't go into details, but yeah, so getting divorced again. Another failed marriage. Feels like an absolute dump, but what can you do? During the divorce, Devon ended up getting a paternity test and only confirmed what I had believed. The baby was Jeff's. And I guess he knew all along and was willing to play along and thought he could live in the garage suite forever and raise his baby as Uncle Jeff from afar. A buddy of mine did me a huge favor and got Jeff transferred to a small northern town, literally in BFE. Devon, I guess, followed up there. She was trying to pretend that I impregnated her so that I didn't catch on to the affair she was having with Jeff. But turns out, my little secret snip-snip saved me from raising a kid that wasn't my own. By the time she realized she was pregnant, though, it was a bit late. Trish and I talk every day. She checks in on me, and she's being an absolute sweetheart. I'm spending a lot of time with my kids and just trying to get by and be the best dad that I can be. Ah, the classic tale of love, betrayal, and a vasectomy that became the ultimate truth serum. Betrayal, the ultimate sucker punch from life's playbook, delivered by none other than a lifelong friend turned traitor. You see, when you've known someone since you were knee-high to a grasshopper, you tend to think they're as solid as the ground beneath your feet. But then they go and shatter that illusion with the finesse of a wrecking ball through a glass house in the form of impregnating your wife. But here's the thing about betrayal. It's a harsh teacher, but it's also a wake-up call. There you were, living your life thinking you had it all figured out with Devon by your side. But Devon and Jeff were busy playing house behind your back. Whispered conversations, secret rendezvous, the whole shebang. Well, OP, looks like you've collected another marriage certificate for the failed relationships scrapbook. Hey, at least you're racking up experience points for the game of love, right? What are your thoughts? Share them. In the end, this story serves as a powerful reminder that life can throw unexpected challenges our way, testing our resilience and forcing us to confront difficult truths. Betrayal, heartbreak, and deceit are painful experiences, but they also provide opportunities for growth and self-discovery. By facing adversity head-on and making tough decisions, we can emerge stronger and more resilient than ever before. Thank you for joining us for this roller coaster of a story. If you found this video engaging or thought-provoking, be sure to give it a thumbs up and leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more captivating content and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Until next time, stay strong, stay resilient, and remember that you have the power to overcome any obstacle life throws your way.